everybody. Welcome to
God Culture.
Game of Thrones is fun. There, see, I did the thing.
Yeah, well
did
done.
you like the new?
Well done, mate.
Thank you. I've not done the theme version of the intro of this thing, but so we're all gathered together to try and predict and talk about the rest of Game of Thrones. I worked out there are 238 minutes remaining,
Good
which is 2 minutes less than 4 hours. Also, I didn't even do our names. I'm Scott Tailford, your host, joined by James Hunt.
Hello.
And Ash Millman.
Hi.
And returning to the business at hand. Yes, so there's like almost 4 hours remaining. It's something like there's 2 80-minute episodes left, and then whatever the other one is. I did do the maths and I now forgot. But we have a whole bunch of different talking points, mainly because the trailer for episode 4 is out, which we've all watched. There's little things you can pick apart from that. I kind of want to delve into that for a bit, and then I want to delve into main characters and where we see them going for the remaining 3 episodes. And then I want to focus on the final episode in particular to talk about what might happen in terms of specific events and things like that.
I don't want much, do you?
I don't want much, but we've got plenty of time. We've got plenty of time for the end of one of the greatest shows of all time, so why not? So yes, the article that we had on the website was written by Mr. Simon Gallagher, who isn't available today, but he was picking out things like he realized that Ghost and Rhaegal aren't dead. Yeah. And so I still don't know the difference between each of the dragons, but Rhaegal is a one, and you can tell me about it.
He's Jon's one now.
Right, good.
He's the one Jon rides.
Because he just sort of leaves in the middle of the battle last time. Like, Jon fell off him, and then
he's off somewhere.
Was he knocked out or something?
He didn't even leave. He just fell to the ground. Was like, oh God, I'm so injured, and then was never spoken about again. Like that was it. So
he was tired. He just
he had a bit
lad
of
wanted a break.
But I mean, we assumedly we'll be seeing a lot more of him in episode 4, and whatever the next machination is as to linking the remaining 3 episodes.
Yeah.
Because it seems like, I don't know, it's like a midpoint. So we've almost had our midpoint break in a way, where it feels like there was the battle was so big, and we need to have this recovery and whatever's going to happen next. But I assume that the dragons will play into. They have to fly down to King's Landing and do stuff.
I think so, yeah. And the direwolves will probably not really be there much at all because it's this show.
Charge them into battle again and say, look, they're here.
And there's 5 seconds of ghost.
They feel weirdly that the direwolves feel weirdly placed. Like they had that whole episode with Arya. I think it was last season, maybe the season before, where she came back across her one, and then Ghost was back in the Long Night, and it's like I just either kill them off or stop peppering them in there. Like stop trying to tick both boxes. Another thing for the whole idea of getting the show back to fighting Cersei is that all the armies are just decimated right now, as far as I can see. The Dothraki are gone, the Unsullied are gone. How do you guys see the general idea of even getting together the idea of going to war again?
Well, the only one that isn't decimated is Cersei's, because she's got a whole brand spanking new 20,000 of them to start whipping out. So that's going to go badly for some people. But I think we've got to see what sort of dragon machines they've got to take them down again. Like if they've got the scorpions,
the spears
ready.
And stuff.
Yeah, because that's the thing that's the main thing, isn't it? The big old dragons is what's the problem.
I just don't believe that thing can do much. I know we've seen it, and it missed really.
It's in the opening credits,
as well. But it's just a spear. You can outmaneuver a spear. I'm just not going to buy it.
Say that to poor dead Viserys and Viserion.
No, that was the Night King, and he got stabbed in the kidneys. The whole thing that Bran was on, I don't believe the logistics of just you have 2 fully able, they're going to fly around. They're very maneuverable dragons. Fling them down to King's Landing and just torch the main Red Keep or whatever, and you're done. As far as I'm concerned, anyway.
I suppose we don't know because both the dragons seem to get injured in the battle. Maybe they're not at full strength. Maybe that might play into it a bit. They're taking some damage,
True. I mean, they got clawed to hell, and whichever you call the one. I know I should know the names. The one that was blue was the one with the blue.
What?
Blue throat. Blue one.
Oh, the blue flame.
The blue flame.
The
one
dead
that was in the dead one. He was
Viserion.
still managed to keep going for as long as possible, even though half his neck was hanging out. So that was pretty good. But I guess in terms of the visualization of the North going to war with the South, do we just see it as more of a one-sided thing now because Cersei has the Golden Company, and the way that they're even going to show that battle will just it'll be like they're up against impossible odds kind of thing. Do the North even stand that much of a chance in a visual sense? Are they going to play more into the hero side of things?
I don't know.
Jon Snow just wins the day.
Yeah, because it depends. Because they could messily write it where surprises. Actually,
could they messily write it? Could they?
They could.
Right.
A lot of troops survive, kind of thing. Where really, it shouldn't be. The armies should be decimated, but we don't know exactly how many men they've got left or what they'll do. But also 2 dragons is pretty good as well.
I think that's probably enough.
What I reckon is they've actually snuck in these elephants under Cersei's nose and then sold them off to the North, and the North ride in on all the elephants.
We're not getting the elephants,
I want the elephants.
If they're not going to give us the giant frosty spiders, I don't think
No,
they're going to give us
we don't want the frosty
and
spiders.
they were actually mentioned before. I expected they'd be
the elephants were mentioned.
Were they?
Yeah, they were actually.
Yeah.
I thought they were mentioned when she said we're not getting them.
No, they were mentioned before.
She put the order in.
Yeah, yeah. They were like, we have elephants, and everyone was like, and like, come back, they're not there. So
It's a bit of a shame. But speaking of Cersei again, one of the very quick shots in the trailer shows Euron Greyjoy seeming to bend the knee to her, which like Cy wrote up on the website.
oh yeah,
As the two of them potentially getting hitched. So what do you guys think? I think Euron sucks. So yeah. Oh, he's bad.
Daddy Euron sucks.
He's horrendous. He's the worst thing
blasphemy.
in the show.
No.
Wow.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
He is not.
Defend the man.
I can't even defend it. No, I just think he's good. I think he's a good, like, nasty little evil conniving man, and I like the banter he provides because Game of Thrones is a really good like.
Finger.
What? Yeah,
Finger.
the finger in
The
the bum.
Yeah.
But I think I
do
think
this.
he's just.
You can do this.
I think he's a really good sort of level and gauge of Game of Thrones' proclivities to having very funny but also very menacing characters, and like you enjoy him being around, but then at the flip of a switch, he could just go and do something really horrible and nasty, like throw someone off a bridge or whatever. Like,
Yeah.
I think that good mania in him is. I think it's interesting. It'll be good to see it play out, and I wish we had more episodes to see it play out more fairly and evenly. But I like him. I think he's good. I think you get enough of his mad pirate feel to warrant him being there.
James, what do you think?
I'm somewhere in the middle, I think, because I think Euron has so much more potential. Like in the books, he's like much crazier.
He's
and
completely
weirder. He's like
different.
this
Yeah.
huge thing. In the show, we don't really get a full sense of his villainy. But at the same time, he's good banter.
He's
I'd
good
just say.
banter. He's good
And,
banter.
Oh God.
And I think in terms of him marrying Cersei or bending the knee or whatever he might be doing in the trailer, that makes sense from his point of view now that he's slept with her. He's got what he's after, basically. He wants to be king. So that is the logical step.
I think like you said, like it's that thing where they've lent into the banter or like the sort of the memeability of him or the quotes or whatever it is. It's that sort of like, I don't know, like lighthearted nature that like for me completely eclipses any sort of like menace that he might have because he is just so stupid.
But then the whole thing about Ramsay was him waggling a sausage around and going, wait,
yeah.
your dick, like.
After he'd cut it off.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Euron has all of this. He's
What's he
there.
done?
He will get there. Is the
What's
thing.
he done?
I don't know. I'm excited to see where he will go. Is what I'm saying, because I think he has the same Ramsay potential without quite as much of the actual deep-hearted evilness. Like he's a fun evil. Like he's a good level of evil. I just like him. I think he's a match for Cersei because Cersei doesn't have any banter, but she has lots of evil. And
they definitely want like a main like love to hate type villain, which like they used to have with Joffrey. And then they had that dude that got killed up Crostas. I forget what his name was. The guy that Jon Snow had the big boss fight.
Carl Tanner.
Yes. And they always had like this go-to villain kind of thing. And I think I guess he kind of complements Cersei if she's the maniacal planning one. He's the crazy rage that you sort of send in. Another point down here is Arya and Gendry, because we get to see Arya and Gendry looking like they're hooking up again, which freaks me the hell out because I love Maisie Williams, but I don't want Arya to be all. She's like the silent assassin of death. I don't need her getting all into the love. It's not for me. But go on. Go on.
Every time I open his mouth, you go,
I'm half with you again because when Gendry and I got together a couple of episodes ago, I didn't really like it. I thought it felt very forced, but at the same time, I think given a longer time frame to do that, it can work because you've got the idea of Arya, who has been this faceless man. She's lost all sense of self and humanity, reclaiming a bit of who she is and that humanity in the romance with Gendry. And if they can do that justice and give it the time it needs to really develop, then it works. But there's not much time left.
I would argue that I don't think it's been rushed or anything, or that it's happened too fast, because the whole of Game of Thrones, we've seen Arya looking Gendry up and down, being like, "Hey, boys." So like for her to actually
The whole of it.
She gives him some right side eyes, honestly. The whole way through, she's checking him out.
She does, but it's like season 3.
When she was like 10 years
before
old.
she becomes a faceless man and goes through all that training. So.
True, very true. I think if they bring romance and love into it, it's gonna chip away at a character arc a bit too much and make it a bit too, oh no, do I fight? Do I love? Which is not what it needs to be.
Yeah.
But her saying, "Hey, I'm getting some and I'm stabbing people," I think is a nice arc for her. Like,
I quite like the idea of them leaning into that before the battle. It was just like she said, it's like it's the one night before. I'm never going to experience it. Let's have a bit of it,
Yeah.
And like that was good. Like kind of fit her character in terms of the way that whatever she's going to focus on and gets the job done kind of thing. But I just them going forward with it means that it's going to be more of a main plot line, and it's just I don't see it slightly like fitting with her character. But
there's ways of approaching it, I think, where they can play into her caring for him, but not making it a central part of her character. If it becomes a part of her that she's a lover and a fighter, I think that will be rubbish. But them having a kiss and having like a moment and stuff, and her being like, get it, then like, I think that's fine. Hopefully it goes that way.
Yes. One of the last things on here is that we see Jon leaving Winterfell, accompanied by dudes, Sir Davos. And another thing that Sai noted was that Tyrion isn't seen when they show Dany with Melisandre. And like, I think that that's maybe because Tyrion's going with Jon. If the assumption is that Jon's going to talk to Cersei, then maybe Tyrion would be alongside that party. Do you guys think that'll be the case, that there'll be even more negotiations circa the last episode of the last season?
Yeah, I think it does look and would make sense that Jon is maybe the one to go and
he's like,
try and parlay with Cersei, or because if, as it looks, the armies of the North and everyone, like, all their allies are wiped out or mostly gone, then maybe you need to try a different strategy rather than let's just go have a war. And Daenerys can't do that because Daenerys and Cersei would just end up trying to kill each other, whereas Jon's the honourable son of Ned Stark.
Does he respect that though?
Yeah, she alludes to it in the Dragon Pit scene. So there's something there to kind of build upon of Jon being the one to talk to her.
Right.
And then Tyrion, that makes sense as well, because
Tyrion's kind of like the in, because they keep playing Cersei off as this, like, you know, this the Mad Queen or whatever. They're sort of going down that route, and obviously the whole thing when she blew up the parish or whatever you call it with the dude's name, the Sept. I was going to say the old man who did the things.
Yeah.
And you know, there's all that thing, and it's just like, but at the same time, Tyrion was the window into that to actually have a conversation about her potentially having a child, and they have like a few more humanity strings to pull on for Cersei. Is that the way that you see it going as well?
I think for Tyrion and for Jaime, I think the Bronn thing has to be like dealt with, and because neither of them are in this trailer, I don't believe. I don't think Jaime or Tyrion
I didn't
are
see
in
Jaime.
it. And Bronn isn't either, so I think that's going to be something that maybe gets talked about in this episode, and that's why it isn't in there. I don't think Bronn is going to kill them anymore. I may have previously.
That'll be ludicrous if he does.
Because I was like, oh, maybe this is how it plays out. But the whole Tyrion being like, I'll double the price sort of thing. I think that's going to happen, and we're going to see what sort of happens with those guys, and maybe have like a little threesome of the bad brothers.
Do you think that maybe Tyrion already preemptively got ahead of that? Because he says that in, I think it's episode 7 or 8 of last season, where he's like, whatever she's offering you, I'll double the price. To get ahead of that, and like, you know, a conversation that happened away from screen could be that he said, whatever you get offered from Cersei to kill me, don't do it, and I'll double the price for whatever time in the future. Yeah, maybe
quite possibly, because he's like, that all ties back to their whole relationship, really. So
another thing I wanted to do for the middle of this is just pick, like, because there's not like, we've got the main cast of characters and just sort of pick some different people, and we have like I said, we have 3 episodes remaining, so I guess I'm going to offer someone up, and then we can kind of go like, where do we think they're going to be in the next episode, and where do we think they're going to end up. Okay, so the first one is Bran, because I actually wanted to talk about the Mad King stuff. The idea of time traveling Bran getting inside the Mad King's head.
I heard this elsewhere, so I have no credit for this, but like, it was that Bran's whole, whoa, I'm a creepy 3-eyed raven man and seeing into the past and everything ties back to King Aegon. Aegon? Is it like Aegon? Egg. That's exactly what I think. My mind has been infiltrated with hearing egg in the office so much. But yeah, with going back to King Aegon, and the way he like messed up Hodor doing the hold the door thing is tied back to that, because he's saying to burn something, but like
burn them all,
like he's trying to sort something out to warn in the past, and absolutely gets it muddled. But
I think if they hadn't killed the Night King, then that would be the case, because you'd still have that threat to sort of deal with, and be more of an active part of the story. But I think that I don't know, part of me thinks that they're just going to completely wipe away the White Walkers altogether and just move on with the familial stuff again.
But it could like link back to the dragons or something, with him being like, oh, I don't know. This is the thing. I think that his whole tied back to the Mad King and him being mad and everything is a really interesting thread. And if it doesn't play out as the White Walkers, it could be something else. I'm not entirely sure how it works out, but I think that would be an interesting way of playing out Bran's story, because Bran has no story at the moment.
No, he's kind of just, I mean, we like during the battle, he was walking into ravens for however long the battle went on, for like a good 6 hours or whatever it was. Yeah. And then that's kind of it. How do you see Bran playing out?
Oh, it's a really good question, because like... like you say, his story is seemingly done almost, because he was the connection to the whole White Walkers story, really. Especially in the last few episodes, it's all been through Bran, and now it's what does he do next? And obviously he can live on as a 3-eyed raven, and he's just living history, but that's not a story point, is it? And there's stuff like, you know, talking about like the Mad King, or there's like theories about him being Bran the Builder, or every Bran who ever lived, and there's no time to really do that justice.
Does Bran the Builder even matter in a world without White Walkers?
Like, well, yeah, there's no. Well, I guess it's like the time loopy thing where he builds the wall and he comes
narratively,
back,
like he goes back in time to create something that would prevent a problem they've already solved when he goes back in time to do it.
Exactly. But yeah, I don't see what he's got to do. Maybe he will have something. I hope he does.
I hope he does. At this point, he's literally just sat on his chair looking around going, oh yeah, that's nice. Come to kill me, have you, Night King?
Yeah.
Not gonna though, are you?
I want just one scene where they just sit down with him and go, okay, what are your powers? Lay them out.
Yeah.
How much exactly can you see? Can you see the future? What does it mean when you say you can see the present? Because that's technically seeing the future. What do you mean?
Yeah.
I need all that laid out. The next character I've got down is Dany. How do we see Daenerys playing out? It's kind of tied with Jon because of the way that they had the scene before the battle in episode 2 about like Dany realizing that Jon is the true heir to the throne or whatever. Do you see them going down the route of one of them has to eventually kill the other, or what do you see happening in the next 2 episodes, if not the finale?
Ooh, I think. Like the little trailer bit with Dany raising a cup and all the Northmen going yay was really nice. Like I enjoyed that. Sorry, that was really loud.
That's really big, yeah.
But that was really nice. So at least we can see that they've respected her as like a queen and her coming in and being like, okay, yeah, she means business. She's got these dragons. She's saved the North with this, that, and the other. Even though technically it was all still the Starks. But I think her being a more pivotal role in the North it's kind of a bit of a death wish for Jon's throne edge, because like if the North all support Dany and Jon supports Dany because he loves her and they're all on Dany's side, Dany's going to get the throne. I don't think it will result in death because Jon will be like, yeah, go on then.
Did I also miss something, or is Sansa not in the trailer? Because it's like
she's in the trailer somewhere.
Yeah, she's around.
I think it's like a shot of her
in that scene where Dany's doing the leading the men kind of thing, and they all cheer for her. Like it doesn't show. I don't think Sansa's sitting next to her because they have that initial sort of friction between the two. But if they can get on the same page, then they can kind of like rule Winterfell or kind of get the North on board kind of thing. But yeah, what do you think will happen with Dany?
I still think she'll die eventually. Not in a Jon kills her way. I think there will be some like minor conflict, but it'll get resolved. I don't think Dany can sit on the Iron Throne or rule whatever sense that means at the end of the show, just because she's always wanted to.
Right.
Her whole arc has been wanting power, and it's kind of always been shown that if you want power or abuse power, then bad things are going to happen to you.
True.
And I think maybe it'd be more fitting for her story to not go like down the villain route as people have suggested, but just have her come to realize that she's maybe not the ruler, or to sacrifice herself for the people and to die that way, and that would tie into the ending being bittersweet.
True. There's that whole thing where when she finds out, like, Jon's true lineage, and the first thing she says is that, like, oh, you're the one who's going to take my throne. It's not like, oh my God, I'm your aunt and we did things. But like, it's like
Targaryens.
Yeah. Like her priority is way more centered around the power structure side of it. For me, I don't know. I like the theory that, like, because J.R. Martin said that the end's going to be bittersweet, because everyone's kind of taking that in a bunch of different directions. But if you boil the characters down to their like fundamental, why do they want the throne? Jon doesn't necessarily want the throne, but he will rule if the duty calls for it. And it's like if he has to be the one that has to stop his potential power mad partner like getting carried away or whatever, and then he rules because the gap is there in the leadership, then I guess that would be the bittersweet ending. So for me, I also see her dying, but it just sucks because it might be at Jon's hand.
Is it too nice and foreshadowed for Jon to sit on the throne, though, is the thing? Because
I would have said beforehand, but the route that they've started to go down with these new episodes, I think they want to do crowd pleasing stuff, or like even crowd pleasing by way of subversion, or the other way around, or whatever. I wouldn't put it past them anymore. Whereas I would used to. What do you think?
I don't think it's necessarily too obvious as such, and I don't think there'll be an Iron Throne really anyway. But it kind of ties back into having Arya kill the Night King, which was cool. It was a really great moment for Arya. But the showrunner said they decided to have Arya do it because Jon was too obvious. And it's like, okay, well, Jon's obvious because you've set him up. That's the story. Yeah. So if that's like the storytelling, then I don't think you should worry about.
I don't know that was their reason. That's really bad.
But what fans have like guessed. And I guess that kind of ties into a much bigger problem of when a show becomes so big and so obsessed over how fans guide the story and how creators react to that. I've lost all sense of my point now.
Yeah.
No, but
that's good to bring up though, because that is kind of nonsense that was their reasoning. Because I really liked Arya as like confronting death in its finest form and everything.
I thought it was part of the overall thing, because you have the prince that was promised, but then you find out that it's a genderless term because it comes from ancient Valyria, and it could have always been a woman, and therefore it could have always been Arya. But like to find them just throwing darts at a board and just being like, well, we can't do that.
Yeah, we'll do this. Yeah, it is like it's rooted in that character and stuff. But they said, oh yeah, we didn't want it to be Jon. and then we had to look at other, and we thought,
why wouldn't they want it to be Jon?
Because it's too obvious.
I like that it wasn't Jon is the thing. I think the way that it's played out is really interesting of the what it says about Jon's character, because he's always been pulled out of like crappy situations by the people around him, like Dany coming and rescuing him on the dragon, Arya coming in and killing the Night King and everything. Like there's all sorts of different things that have been ruled by Jon not being great every now and then, even though he's a wonderful character and he's so passionate and everything, he does dumb things sometimes.
True. We can pivot into Arya specifically. Do you think that, because obviously the way that they've kind of got her now is she has an incredible skill set, and you can just point her at a certain figure. And, you know, like realistically in the context of the show, she could just wear someone's face, go straight into the Red Keep and murder Cersei. Like, where do you think Arya will go? How do they even rein in what they've shown that she can now do?
Yeah, I think it's her arc, because it's all so wrapped up in vengeance, and it needs to kind of resolve that in some way. I think that'll resolve in mercy, in a sense. I think maybe we'll see like her going south eventually with the Hound, and I think it might be something where she has to kill.
Like a nice Hound reunion.
They'll go and live in Dawn forever. Like.
I think there'll be this thing where maybe like they'll probably do Clegane and Ball, because that's the kind of fan service they are doing. Yeah. And then I think the Hound will get injured, and it'll be a callback to like season 4, where Arya's like where she left him before, and she'll kill him this time as an act of mercy, and that'll help resolve her whole vengeance arc.
Would you give Arya like a Lyanna death, where she takes out the mountain or whatever, but gets taken out herself as well, and then maybe the Hound dies as well?
I wouldn't. I think Arya will live.
I'm not sure. Okay, I'm not sure how you end a character like Arya when you've kind of made her this cipher for pure power at this stage.
Yeah. She doesn't end. She fades away. Is what this is. If someone like that, they don't just die. They'll fade into the background, and that'll be that. Like she'll like put like a cloak on and go away. Like when she fades into the crowd at the start of season, end of season 1.
Is it how that's the way Jaqen H'ghar leaves her as well? I think I'm pronouncing his name right. Because doesn't he turn around with the other face and then walks away?
Yeah,
and you don't see.
I just think she's
gonna
have a cloak on and be like, right, go see it. Like, whatever happens. Do you think she's gonna kill Cersei though? I feel like that's a really important thing. Do you think she's gonna?
I hope not. I mean, I just don't want it to be that kind of show where it's too obvious. Like, I mean, they're literally like, if that's literally their reason is, okay, what do the fans expect? Let's not do that. Then they wouldn't do that anymore, because it's too obvious for Arya to just be the go-to. She's super strong, therefore she does this. So Cersei probably get killed by Euron or something at this point. Like something that was completely ridiculous, like or the mountain. Or something.
They're married.
I think at this stage, if they're deliberately trying to look at the overall reception and trying to use that as the way that they're putting the episodes together in terms of plot twists and stuff, then hardly anything that makes logical or like plot based sense will never happen. It'll nearly always be the opposite of that. So I wonder. I've got Cersei down here as well. I guess where do we see Cersei at the end? Could she possibly win?
I think she has to die.
Yeah.
I think I just can't see how her story like goes on really. I think she'll make it to the finale, and it'll be one of towards the end, or at least in the final episode, she will die, whether that's at Arya's hand or Jaime or Euron or whoever does it. She'll go some way somehow.
Yeah, my whole thing with Cersei is that I see her as like Sansa with like plus like 20, 30 years. Like she like at the very beginning was obviously like, you know, had to get married off to Robert Baratheon.
Yeah.
I think she's like
I think Sansa's becoming like Cersei.
Ooh.
Like and Sansa literally said that she learned a lot from her. Like it's that whole thing where like at the very beginning, like, you know, Cersei was passed off, she was married off to Robert Baratheon. She literally says to him like, was there anything real between us at all? And he says no. And I think that part of that relationship kind of fundamentally broke any part of her that had a romanticized idea of what their marriage was supposed to be. And then she gradually becomes more and more, well, actually, F this whole thing. I'm just going to burn it all to the ground.
Yeah.
Because everything she tries doesn't work. The prophecy comes true that like all her children like die or whatever. And I think that if she does end up being pregnant again, we don't know if that was a lie or not at this stage, I guess. If that also then doesn't come true, then she's just represents like a, you know, a general metaphor for the futility of that time period and the way that, you know, different marriages get signed off and, you know, different power plays that were made, but it was all
like,
for naught.
I don't know. I think the parallels between Sansa and Cersei are obviously there, definitely. But I think Sansa is like this emblem of hope for.
I think she's better.
Yeah, I think she's proper emblem of hope for what women can be in this time, because Cersei has been like battered down by the system and then fought back tooth and nail, got to the top, but is so angry and bitter about it all because everything she loved has been taken from her. Whereas Sansa still has had things taken from her, but has that sense of like, let's let the refugees into our castle. Let's do this.
I think it's
that.
because those things happen to Cersei that Sansa can be better for it.
So
but
witnessed it.
Yeah, but I think narratively, you look at where Cersei began and where she ended up, and it's like she's had all these horrible things happen to her. She's obviously not been the best moralistically pure character anyway. She was pretty much a villain the whole way through. But like the circumstances that she went through and the life lessons that she was forced to learn, I wouldn't be surprised if her mindset ended up as just like, I hate all this, and I'm sick of like being passed off. Like she, it showed her tearing up when like she had to end up going to bed with Euron just for the sake of trying to get his army on her side. And it's just like you can't end the show with someone like her winning.
Yeah.
Maybe she kills herself. Like maybe she's just like, I'm done.
Yeah. To be fair, like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. This is like blowing my mind. But I think the Jaime side is a good. I know you mentioned Jaime when you said who could kill her. I think that's seems to be where this has to go for me. I think Jaime is the one that has to be like
big leading rumor is that or like assumption or whatever is that it's going to be Jaime that eventually kills Cersei. So for the final 5 minutes, we can just talk about the final episode. I guess it's kind of anything goes because I had a general conversation with you about whether there's if there is another battle, a big battle like the Long Night style planned or whatever, and you said you'll talk around it, but you knew some things. So let us know some things.
Well, I don't want to say things, but obviously what I will say is episode 5, Miguel Sapochnik is directing.
Good.
It's the penultimate episode where the battles traditionally always used to happen.
True.
He's the battle guy.
Yeah.
He was the dude.
He pieced that together.
Yeah, he was the guy that they said you can come back and do a certain amount of episodes, and he chose to do episodes 3, 4, and 5.
3, 4, and 5, yeah. But
this season.
He couldn't do 4 ultimately.
Right.
So he's not doing that one, but then he's doing 3 and 5.
Okay.
So I would assume they're the 2 battle episodes.
Also makes sense that they would have the last episode of the season would be the sort of the wrap up, the post whatever it is thing as well. So yeah, I guess like it's that idea of like how does Arya fit into that? If they do a big deal with Arya, how does Jon fit into that stuff? Like general wildest predictions, where do you see those characters in the final episode? Are they still alive for that final battle? Is it going to come down to a very specific action, a conversation? Like, what do we think?
I think it'll be. I think the kind of all the bombast of it will be done in episode 5. I think that's maybe when look at the big action, and then I can see episode 6 being really kind of quiet, almost and quite intimate.
I would love that.
And because if we talk about like the ending being the same as George R. R. Martin's, I don't know if I know Martin said it will be, but I think there might be some differences now.
You don't
there has to be some.
Yeah.
And one of the things he's always talked about is like the scouring of the Shire from Lord of the Rings.
Okay.
Just when they kind of defeat Sauron and then they go back and the Shire's being like attacked in their absence and they have to like fight again, and it's like this kind of thing.
It keeps it going.
Yeah. And Martin's always alluded that he loves that part of Lord of the Rings and he wants to do a similar kind of tone at least to that ending.
Right. Okay.
So I can see them kind of maybe going for that where they deal with Cersei, but then you've still got to address the fallout of what happens with Sansa in the north or what happens with Jon and Daenerys and all that.
What do you think, Ash?
I think it wouldn't surprise me if they just brought like a load of people from all of the areas that Daenerys has been to, being like, oh god, these guys are angry, they're going to take over Westeros now. Like that would be quite funny. But I think most people have got to die. I think all of the character arcs and things that we've seen, I think most of them have to end up dead. I don't want them dead, and it wouldn't necessarily make it better if they were dead, but I think that they kind of, the natural progression of this is you win or you die. That's the Game of Thrones in it. So
I mean, like G.R. Martin said a whole lot that he wants to subvert expectation, and a lot of you have Jon being set up as like the big like go-to hero, but then if you take the Shire thing, then it's like, well, even if he does win the throne or one of our heroic characters wins the throne, the fallout from that would be the public opinion of that throne, the things that have happened in King's Landing or the things that have happened across Westeros, and then maybe that bittersweet, the word that he used, the bittersweet thing, maybe refers to the state of the world instead. Like, what have you really gained? And maybe they have more fallout like with that, depending on the state of what people think.
Well, I guess their Shire has already been scoured from Winterfell being absolutely bonked by that battle. So,
what do we think for the last thing? I guess like a final shot. Do you think it'll end with actually a final tone or a final shot? I think it'll end with a sign off saying like a general sort of feeling of peace or a general feeling of this will continue, because we know there's going to be a prequel thing anyway. So it's like Game of Thrones' general feel will continue regardless.
Yeah, I think it'll be a shot that suggests this will go on, because like so much of Game of Thrones and Song of Ice and Fire is about things being cyclical, things repeating itself, coming full circle. So I think there'll be something that hints at that, whether that's like a dragon egg or a little direwolf or something of that ilk that suggests, this story keeps going.
There's loads of people who have spoken about this all being actually a story of Sam's
in the library.
Yeah, and I would really, really hate it if they went full Shrek storybook, like, and that's the end.
Oh
of
god,
that.
it zooms out and he closes the
And
book.
Sam's like with his quill, like, But I think it's just going to be a really, the whole bittersweet thing. It's going to be a really resigned tone. It's going to be that this is the end. But it's not the end as well. Like, this is always going to happen. It's always going to continue. We're never actually going to get over it because bad stuff always happens.
I forget the name of the prequel books that Martin's just put out, but he's just done 2 of them, and it's just it seems like his whole general feeling of war is obviously things will just be will just continue. It's cyclical. Even the Game of Thrones that we've just watched unfold is like but a speck in overall time.
Yeah.
So it depends what kind of tone he wants to end on, but I wouldn't be surprised if it does kind of go with this feel of more bad stuff will always keep happening. So yes, those are our general thoughts for the rest of the season. For now, like I said before, there are only 4 hours ish left. So holy lord! But yes, let us know what you think down in the comments below. You can find us all on social media as well. For now, though, I've been your host, Scott Taylor, joined by James Hunt.
Thank you.
And Ash Milburn.
Goodbye.
And catch you next time. Bye.